Welcome back to ReadingBear. Today, we will take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first story is titled, "So You Need a Certified Copy of My Bachelor Degree That You Just Issued?" No problem. During my last semester of my bachelor degree, I already applied for the master's degree at the same university. So I go through the normal application process and get accepted, yay, but as I didn't have my bachelor degree at that point, I had to produce a certified copy of my degree as soon as I could. Yes, I had to give a certified copy of my bachelor's degree to the university who issued the degree in the first place. And no, these were not different departments. It was all done by one lady in the examination office. But whatever, weird bureaucracy is weird. And boy was it annoying at that university. Because all students of my faculty had to got through one lady. And I think she just hated to do anything. Like, seriously, she was so annoyed when you showed up at her office to just do anything. When I turned in my bachelor thesis, she straight up said that she is so ducking annoyed that all the students turn their thesis in at her office. Well, we don't have another choice. There is seriously not other way to turn your thesis in. And don't ever think about asking her anything. So, I am already looking forward to picking up my bachelor's degree. No, we don't have a fancy celebration. Normally you would get an email when your degree is ready, but as she ducking hates our guts, you just have to guess when it is ready. We don't get an email. 2 weeks after your last grade is put in the system, it is probably ready. So, I did just that. I show up at her office and hooray, my degree is ready. Lady, here. Without even looking at me. Me, thank you, I need a certified copy of that. Lady, really annoyed, excuse me, what? Me, I need a certified copy. Could you please copy it and certify that it is a copy of the original? Lady, I know what a certified copy is. You can get that at the town hall. Me, I know, but I can also get it here. I know for a fact that you have to give me one if I request it. 5-second staring contest ensues. Lady, sigh, fine. She takes my degree back, turns around, copies it and signs that it is a certified copy. Lady, hands me the degree and copy, here. Me, thank you. Now I would like to give you a certified copy of my bachelor degree for my application for the master's degree. I hand her back the certified copy. Lady, are you serious? Me, yes, I thought if I am already here, I could turn that in as well. So I don't have to come back again. Another 5-second staring contest. Lady just takes the copy out of my hand and turns around. And with that, I left with the biggest grin on my face. What did she expect? That I got to the town hall, 15-minute ride, wait there for probably 1 to 2 hours, get a certified copy that would cost me €13, at uni one was for free, and then come back another day? Hell no. Especially because she had the weirdest office hours ever. It was something like 2 days a week for 5 hours in the morning and 1 day for 5 hours in the afternoon. So I probably would have waited days to turn that in. But her face when I asked for a certified copy was just glorious. The next story is titled, "I'm so sorry I got in the way of you embezzling the McMoney." I worked at 2 McRestaurants. I'm not going to reveal which McRestaurants these may be, but you may work it out. The first was in my hometown before uni for 6 months. The second was in my uni's town for 18 months. The 2 McRestaurants had differing IT systems, one had an online system, the other just had paper, and so I couldn't simply be transferred. I had to resign from one, get fast-tracked through application at the other, and the people who McTrained me had an easy few shifts. Lead up to being told what to comply to. Now, the first McRestaurant was very strict, but a bit too easygoing. I had good customer service, so was put on the tills every shift. I could combat every Karen with enough sarcasm and fake boomer humor to make 'em like me. When working on tills, the managers gave the till users their swipe cards so we could issue refunds quicker or delete an incorrect item on the order when a customer changes their minds 10 times. All is good. Each shift I walk in, count the McMoney, do my job, cash the McMoney, go home. I was almost always perfect to the penny. Until one shift, I notice a coworker using my till during my break. When I cash the McMoney that shift, I'm down by like a fiver and a few pence, and I'm given a cash retrainer, disciplinary and basically a pop quiz about cash handling. After doing so, I mention the other coworker to a manager and he tells me it's my fault for not constantly supervising my till and for not locking my till during my break, which I didn't know I could do. He happily shows me. Cool and good. He's nice and even shows me the legal writing that says I cannot leave the till, from counting to cashing, unless the till is locked. I can comply with that. The night I am finally forced to use this knowledge. A year later. New store, new managers, same legal stuff. I offer to take a coworker's shift so I can afford to eat next week, and end up on a shift with a manager who has never asked me to go on till before, which is weird. I'm great with customers and despise cooking McFood. This time though, she was expecting the other worker but had already gotten the McMoney ready. I take it from her, count it, sign it off, and do my job. I start learning that she is working everyone hard while she picks her nails and checks her phone. After a while she notices that we haven't had any orders for a little while and that I'm just stood watching her procrastinate. Stop standing around and do your job. I am? We have no customers so I can't serve anyone. She tells me to get stock for the kitchen. What? I thought you wanted me to do my job? Yes. Do your job. By the book, McManager? Yes. Okay. No problem. I will stay by this till like it says in the book, duh. I continue to stand there and she gets irate. Look, McManager, the only way I will leave this till is to go on my break. She rolls her eyes and leaves me alone. Yay. About an hour getting paid to chat with the customers and coworkers who are nearby the till. Eventually, I'm asked to go on my break so I lock the till as per usual and do so. A coworker of mine, someone who used a flexible till next to mine while I was on break, a flexible till is signed off by a manager, said that while I was on my break she came to the till, got angry tapping the screen for it to do nothing, and stormed off. When I came back from my break, I asked for her manager card. No. It's for managers only, and you're just a till boy today. Wow, okay, is this an extended break? What? No, go do your job. I'll be able to if you give me the manager card so I can unlock your till and do my job? To be honest, you can supervise since it's your card. Again, she rolls her eyes, goes to the till with me, holds out her manager card, and I have to swipe it while she was still holding it because she wouldn't let go. The screen becomes responsive again and I unlock it. She seems to avoid me for the rest of the shift, while I just chill since it wasn't too busy. I have time for a proper laugh with some customers and I even have a drunken friend come in for a milkshake. She and I chat for a while and talk about the weird McManager. End of my shift, the McManager is suddenly very nice and sweet, offers to take my McMoney and count it up for me and I can go home early. Haha, no. I'm paid to the minute and want to cover my own ass, so I count it myself. Not quite perfect. 3 pence over, I probably just didn't give a few people their penny change when they walked away. But for a cash retrainer it has to be plus or minus £1, I'm chill. It was satisfying to irritate her so much while I took the role of procrastinating away from her for that shift. I was grinning on my way home that I had done everything as I should have and put a manager in her place. I even got a drunk friend buddy to walk home with. Turns out there was more to it. That was the most profitable Thursday evening in months. That evening was hundreds of quid more profitable. A little investigation had been carried out because of this. Then they noticed it was the first Thursday evening in months to not have a perfect to the penny cash amount. Then they noticed that it was me who signed it off, not the normal person. Then they noticed that the signature of the other person didn't match with her signature on other shifts. Far too much for it to be a coincidence. CCTV showed McManager to be taking the till's McMoney into the office on the usual workers' break every shift. I got in the way of it this time for just doing as told and doing my job by the book. Fired of course, fined of course, think she spent a small amount of time in prison, but now I see her cleaning the floor in the Colonel's Chicken restaurant across the street. Also, I probably would have trusted her to look after the till while I got stock if she hadn't been so rude. The next story is titled, OverlyStrict Teacher Learns to Pick Her Battles. In 6th grade, my class got a new science teacher. I will call her Ms. Mac. Ms. Mack was this young, fresh out of college teacher who probably thought it was a smart idea to rule with an iron fist at first so she'd earn our respect and obedience. The problem was that she went out of her way to nitpick every single thing we did and enacted much harsher punishments than we deserved, and didn't understand that she would have gotten so much further with us if she'd learned to pick her battles. She'd set ridiculous rules like not letting anyone use the restroom more than 3 times a year during her class, or giving us a Saturday detention if we forgot our homework. Even now, I don't think how she treated us was fair, but as a moody, obnoxious 12-year-old, I was quite livid and actively tried to think of ways to punish her. I was always an excellent student who got excellent grades, however a common theme throughout all my parent-teacher meetings was my talkative nature. This often led to many trips to the front office in grade school, so I was pretty familiar with all the admins, who adored me. My talkative nature didn't bother them at all, haha. I know it must have been exhausting for my teachers, but Ms. Mack took a strong dislike to me immediately because of it. She'd move me every day to sit at the back of the classroom alone if I said a single word to anyone during class, no exceptions, even if it was just to speak about the work. If we had to be in labs that day and work in groups, I'd be forced to work alone. It really sucked. One day, it's 10 minutes into class and somehow I hadn't been moved out of my regular seat yet. I was hopeful for the day. Until the person behind me dropped their pencil. It rolled under my feet, so I picked it up and handed it back. They said thank you, I said you're welcome, and that was it. Before I could even turn back to the front, Ms. Mack suddenly screamed, "Damn it op, why can't you just control yourself? What is the matter with you? Get to the back and don't you dare say another word for the rest of my class." I mean it. I tried to defend myself, as did the rest of the class, but she refused to hear it. So I moved desks and sat livid, staring daggers into her. I decided from that moment on, I would follow exactly what she said. I'd never say another word in her class. Not to her, not to my classmates, not to anyone. From the minute I entered her classroom until the minute I left, I was absolutely silent. TBH, regardless of me ignoring her the few times she directly addressed me, I'm sure she probably enjoyed the first 2 weeks or so of silence. This all came to a head, however, when Ms. Mack had one of her monthly administrative reviews, which just so happened to coincide with my class that day. At some point during the class, Ms. Mack was showing off for the admin at the back of the classroom and randomly calling on students for a review game. She must have been in her groove or something, because she clearly forgot about the ongoing situation between us and she calls on me to answer one of her questions. I just sat there. Complete silence, staring directly into her eyes. She asked again, and I know it took everything in her not to lose it on me when I just smirked. She definitely couldn't lose her cool in front of the admin, so I knew she wasn't gonna yell at me like before, so I was really enjoying this moment. Watching the gears turn behind her eyes, knowing she could either keep trying to challenge me and make herself look bad, or she could ignore my disobedience and make herself look bad. She chose the latter. The admin was not as willing to ignore my blatant insubordination, and she personally knew me to be quite talkative, outgoing, and respectful to all adults, so she walked up behind me and leaned over and asked in a whisper if everything was okay. I turned to look at her and I just nodded. She whispered, "Then why aren't you answering, Ms. Mack?" I turned back to my teacher, and looked her right in the eyes as I said at full volume, "Ms. Mack told me last month that I was never allowed to speak another word in her class again." I wish I could have gotten her face on camera. Hers and the admin's, if I'm being honest. They both were such a lovely mix of shock and distaste. Unfortunately, I didn't get to hear the things that were said when the admin pulled Ms. Mack into the hallway, but the contortion of her beet red face upon her return to class was enough to fuel my imagination for years. The admin took it upon herself to check up on me once a week for the rest of the year. She'd stop by during that class, pop her head in and just look at me expectantly, waiting for me to nod that I was okay. Ms. Mack studiously ignored these interactions, but I know they ate away at her. And never once did she say another word to me about my talking. The next story is titled, "Interns Are Not Allowed Admin Rights on Their Computers." Back in the early 2000s, I was a college intern working at a company, testing software. At this point in history, college-aged people communicated via instant messenger programs, AIM, ICQ, etc. There were no web interfaces or smartphone apps. You had to, generally, install a program on your computer. Naturally, most of the interns decided to install Instant Messenger on their work computers. This meant that technically, many of us were talking to friends during company time, but I think we were doing it in a reasonable way. I might send a message or two while I was waiting for code to compile, but that was it. Management eventually found out and didn't like it, which I do understand. It was technically against policy to install personal software on a work computer, after all. Rather than talk to us, they set another policy. From now on, interns would not be allowed to have administrator rights on their computers, and would thus be prevented from installing new software. Over the weekend, someone in the IT department was charged with making all the password changes. Being a lowly intern, I never heard his side of the story directly, but I have to believe his compliance was malicious. He must have known that our jobs, which included installing the daily software build each morning, required administrator rights. He must have known that by not sharing the new password with anyone before he left for vacation on Monday, we would be very unproductive until he got back. As the result of a week of very low productivity from the interns, management eventually learned that we were doing useful work. We were eventually given admin rights again. We were reminded not to install any non-company software, but nobody ever checked that we were following this. The next story is titled, "Okay, we'll interview him." I'm a software developer. A coworker of mine started out as a contractor. When his contract was over, we decided to hire him on as a full-time employee. He wanted to stay, and we knew he does great work. Hiring him was a no-brainer. Except HR absolutely insisted that we cannot possibly commit to hiring someone until he's been through the interview process. So we interviewed him, at a restaurant, with the meal being paid with the boss's corporate credit card. The interview went something like this. Interviewer: "So, what do you think of Java as a programming language?" Interviewee: "It's not bad." Interviewer: "Cool. You're hired." The next story is titled, "Follow policy as written, not as verbally stated." Got it. Where I work we have the same basic concept of end-of-year goal setting and potential merit raises etc. that every place I have ever worked has. The difference here is a requirement to demonstrate in a documented manner that you have, over the course of a year, appreciated a coworker for doing their job at least 25 times. I am not joking, we have to, in a formally written way, somehow phrase, "Thank you for not checking out today, and doing what is expected of you every day. I appreciate you doing your job and not getting me assaulted, stabbed, killed today. I work at a prison with violent offenders." Before today's memo about these appreciation letters, we had to go through a really painful bureaucratic nightmare to get credit for one. We had to go to the administration office, only open Monday to Thursday 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., to access a digital form. We had to go through all the steps to explain why we were thanking them and pick out of 9 options what value we were thanking them for. We then had to type out a minimum of 100 words out "thank you" and describe a specific situation. We then keyed in the date and approximate time, location, witnesses, etc. Then print the form, make 7 copies and distribute each copy to a different department. If all 7 admin agreed that it was an appropriate thank you moment, and turned them in approved in the allotted time frame, then a copy would be given to the recipient and we would get an email saying we could count this thank you towards our goal. Obviously, only administrative staff ever actually met this credit. We carry trail mix in our side pocket because we don't have the staffing numbers or the time to sit down and eat. If I can't eat it walking to my next duty, or immediately put it down to respond, I don't get it on shift. And who on earth is going to be that guy and ask for relief to go write a freaking thank you? Last year, our goals were announced in muster, roll call, pre-shift meeting, as typical, with no mention that custody staff must meet the thank you goal to get our 15-cent merit raise at the end of the year. At the end of the year 0 custody staff got their raise, and we got the union involved. It was passed down after several meetings with administration that the policy had been changed and we should have read the policy for changes. We are expected to follow the policy as written, regardless if something is omitted during the announcement. Well, 0 custody staff, again, are on course to getting the precious 25. We honestly all boycotted it this year out of protest, and admin finally got wise that there might be an issue. During muster this week it was announced that our line only can now send an email from our work account to a coworker, saying something about him doing something right that day, being a good person, thank you, minimum of 150 words, and BCC our supervisor to get credit. Remembering the burn last year, I got my hands on the policy change immediately after muster. After reading the mind-numbing mumbo-jumbo I found nestled in the official policy a beautiful typo. The policy stated, "The electronic correspondence must meet the minimum word count to receive gold credit for eligible staff as outlined above. The appropriate supervisor is mandated to ensure the word count is specifically the verbiage of the applicable appreciation statement and must be equal to or greater than a count of 15. You read right, a word count of 150 according to the supervisor's announcement, but 15 according to the policy." I immediately jumped on an open computer in the muster room and sent out an email with that specific line highlighted as a reply all to the last mass email sent out. Every single staff that was eligible has hit their 25 mark in a whopping 32 hours. The warden released a video email to custody staff this morning. He was laughing while he basically told us, in a more politically correct way, that the administration captain and the finance office are losing their minds that everyone gets a raise this year. But he accepts defeat in us using their words to win against them. An excellent job to whoever found the policy typo. All he sees they can do at this point is laugh and marvel at how fast we happily played by their rules. God bless someone dropping a zero on an official policy, and I want to shake the hand of whoever proofread that policy. The next story is titled, "Jokingly Offering $5 a Week for Not Eating McDonald's?" Okay. This happened about 10 years ago. I'm now 24, female. I was pretty fat back then, and struggling to figure out health. Still am, but I'm better now. I'm in my health class in 8th grade and we finished watching Food Inc. Next we were watching Super Size Me. For those of you not aware, it's about a man who eats nothing except McDonald's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner to see how his health changes. When the movie ends and I get home, I tell my mum I don't want to eat McDonald's anymore because of the documentary. My original goal was just for 2 months. This would have already been a long time since I loved McDonald's and ate it once or twice a week that I remember. My mum offers to pay me $5 a month for doing so, even offering to extend it if I chose to continue. This is where my dad comes in. He knew how much I loved McDonald's, and wasn't sure about my willpower. Not in a bad way, but I was super impulsive and a bit of a binge eater back then. My dad didn't think I'd last a month, and said those magical words. "I'll give you $5 a week for every week you don't eat McDonald's." It was on. He's commending me for staying strong. For the first month. Second month, he's pleasantly surprised, especially when a friend of mine tempted me with a bag of chicken nuggets. Third month, he gives me permission to have a cheat day. I said no. I'm getting money from both my mum and dad. 4 months, he's handing off money every 2 weeks since he doesn't have much at times. After 6 months, my dad is begging me to stop, because he was losing a lot of money on me for the McDonald's bet and another bet similar, $5 a week for each week without soda around the same time. Because I was nice, I took him off the hook and did a cheat day for soda. 3 Pepsis. I still drink soda, 1 or 2 a month, but haven't eaten McDonald's since. The next story is titled, "Do You Really Want the Grade You Deserve?" Around 1990 I taught a computer course for a few semesters at our local university for evening master's degree students. One assignment consisted of a number of short answer questions, plus a short program in Pascal. Get in on that trend early, kids, it's gonna be big. I had a grader at the time, doctoral student who made extra money grading assignments, who had taken on too many classes, and so was not paying very close attention to some of the answers on the papers he was grading. I handed back this particular assignment, and 2 or 3 students came up complaining about their grade on a specific question, which was worth a fair number of points. I promised to take their papers home and look them over. Next class, I handed back the papers to the students, and said that I agreed that the grader had misunderstood the sense of their answers and incorrectly marked them down. They went back to their seats, happy that the grades on their papers had improved from low Bs to low As. One of the other students, let's call him Mordecai, watched this interaction, and decided he would like to improve his grade too. So he fished out his assignment from the previous week, and brought it up to my desk for regrading. I asked him which question in particular did he think deserved a second look. He said he just generally thought he deserved a better grade. I promised to look at it over the break, then started class. Since these classes were designed for busy professionals trying to get a degree at night, they met once a week, but for nearly 3 hours, so we took a break 90 minutes in. Break time comes, the students go to the hall to use the loo, get coffee or soda, whatever can keep them awake from 7 to 10 on a Monday night. Some of the students are milling around and talking. I pull out Mordecai's paper and start looking it over. 3 minutes later I look up. There's Mordecai, and behind him is a queue of half a dozen students holding their papers from the previous week. Apparently word had gotten out that I was doing a wholesale regrading of everyone's assignment and points were to be had. Now, the whole point of having a grader, and what he got paid to do, was to relieve me of needing to grade 30 papers myself. I always did 3 or 4 so the grader knew what I was looking for, but I already spent 10 hours a week preparing lectures, assignments and tests, doing administrative work, plus 3 hours standing in front of the class. And this was just a sideline. My day job was very demanding. So I looked at Mordecai and said, I've glanced over the test, and looked at the item the other students felt was not graded right. Your answer was correct, though, so you got full points on that question. But I was looking through the program you wrote, and I think the grader was too easy on you. For one thing, you did not observe the coding standards I passed out in the first class. There are practically no comments, so it's very hard to follow, and you pack everything into one big routine rather than using functions. So, you got a B on this paper. You can accept that, or, if you insist that you have a legitimate complaint, I'll take this home and give it my full attention, and hand it back to you next week with the grade it deserves. What would you like to do? Mordecai took back his paper, looked at it uncertainly, then wandered back to his desk. I looked up at the line of students behind him. They slowly followed suit. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comment.